Welcome to this free lecture. This lecture is taken from my ZBrush full anatomy and character creation course. Details of this course can be found now. If you like what I'm doing here, visit the page, check it out, see if you like it, and take the course. Okay, welcome to this section. Now don't worry, you haven't missed anything. I've just done a little bit of a finalized kind of detail on a base mesh, and it's basically taken from this. So I wanted to show you the kind of end result that we're kind of looking for, just to get us started with minimal muscular or bony structures on this. Obviously you used to say this is going more towards a male, but it could easily be incorporated for a female. So I want to show you how to use this base mesh, and I'll actually include this in the file. So if you're working along with this and you want to open that next file up, then you're going to find that file inside your Speedy Workflows for base heads, which is in this lecture below it. So make sure you download these assets. So I've done a kind of male base here. I'm going to show you now how to do a female one. So we've got this initial base. What I'm going to do is delete these out because these are from the old file, so I don't really need these. So let's just delete all these out. Okay, and leave me with this original, which is what I used as the base. So with this, what we're going to do is we're actually just going to dynamesh it and just bring the level down. So we've got the plane, so not a lot's going to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into here and just come into dynamesh and probably set this on a level of about 128, something like that, and then just click this and have it into dynamesh mode. Now it's going to be very easy with the smooth brush just to smooth out some of those sharp plane lines that we've got. I don't want to get rid of them all, but I just want to sort of get rid of a few of them, just so that we make it a kind of more generic shape. So you get something like that. Okay, so that gives us something to work with as far as modeling in. Now I also need to push this ear area in here because obviously it wouldn't shoot out like that, but we're going to tackle that later. So once I've got that, what I want to do then is I want to just shape the actual shoulder area around here. Now I'm not going to pay much attention to this shoulder area because all I'm doing is basically taking this down, just basically pulling this area out. And in fact I can see I've probably got a little bit too much resolution on this, so I'm actually going to set this on 64. I'm going to hit enter, just smooth it a little bit and re-dynamesh it, so I've got an even more simplified base. That's good. It gives us somewhere to go and it gives us some guides. So that's all we're after at this stage. So also what I want to do is slightly rotate the head just to get it more upright. Maybe not that much, that'll do. And then I'm going to just making sure symmetry is turned on. I'm going to mask the bottom out. Just make sure you got symmetry turned on. If you haven't, go to transform, activate symmetry. I'm going to inverse this, and I'm just going to now just use the move tools to move this out to get a kind of shoulder look. So we're looking for, this is going to be a female one eventually, but it's not going to look it's not really going to look different at the moment. So I'm going to pull this out here like this, and then I'm just going to use the move, and I'm just going to move this down just to do something like that. Okay, now I'm just going to center this. I'm actually going to move this down here. Make sure perspective's turned off, by the way. I'm just going to reset this so it's straight, and then I'm going to unlock it, move this to the bottom, lock it back up, and then I'm just going to flatten this down like this a little bit. Maybe, actually, we'll leave that back like that. What I'll do now is I'll just mask across this area and pull it down slightly, and then I'll just re-dynamesh it, come back into move, and using the smooth brush I'm just going to smooth it out. So it gives us a kind of shoulder area. Now no, the back's not done, so I need to start to pull the back area out here like that. Now don't worry about where it's snipping, I'm just moving the bottom down as well. We're going to cut this off in a second. That'll do. Now I can sort of generate some shoulders. Now I'm not concentrating on the anatomy of the shoulder areas yet, so I don't want to get too involved in that. Okay, now I've done that, I'm going to go back to move. I'm going to just center this, and I'm going to just hit this scale, and I'm going to hold the control key. I'm going to hold the control key and I'm going to hit this scale. So I'm holding the control key and I'm dragging up, and what that'll do is that'll cut the bottom off like that. Now I'm going to re-dynamesh and just smooth it out. Now I've got a nice straight bottom for that. Now obviously shoulders are about a head apart, so they all needs to move out a bit. So a nice big brush on that. and we'll just move that in a bit there. So that's about right. I'm not paying attention to much of the details yet because we're not onto this part of the anatomy. Okay, so I'm just basically putting some placeholders in, just getting the roughly the right shape. Okay, now if you need to, you can mask a bit of this up, use the freehand masking as well, soften it by clicking on it, invert it, and then we can just use the move, and we can just move this back. I just want to move, get that angle a bit better, unmask it, use the move, just push that in to get a better angle on the neck. Okay, and this will then be a good base mesh for starting. Now we want it more female, this one, because remember we've got the male here, and we've got this one here, which is the male, and then we got the female base here. Okay, so what I want to do is just make sure that it's more female, so I'm going to round it up a little bit more. So remember the female head comes a bit more forwards than the males, so I'm going to just introduce that into here. I'm also going to start to smooth off some of this. I'm going to pull this down here, bring this across and sharpen this up here. So you're going to notice really quickly it becomes more like a female. And just by pushing in the jaw and softening this jawline a bit around here, it will become more feminine. Okay, so just all I'm doing is smoothing really. Okay, let's take this nose down a little bit. And this will be a good base mesh for us to start. Now notice how I'm pushing up certain parts of this, just to kind of make it a bit more relaxed. And I really don't, at this point, I don't even care about the eyes, so I'm just going to rub them out. Okay, just using the Damien standard now, just to kind of come in here. Let's just smooth that back a bit. And that's a good start. So remember, a base mesh is just for us to start the work. It's to give us a sort of general all over. Now I tend to, some people go for base meshes that look like males straight away, and others go for base meshes that look like females and they start. But what I tend to do is I try and go for an in-between, so it's got an in-between type feel to it. It's not male, it's not female, it's kind of a bit in between. Okay, that's not too bad. All right, it's enough to start with. Okay, all right, so I'm happy with that. Doesn't look much at the moment, but we're not stuck into it yet. So as you'll see with this base mesh here, I've got this only on 64, and this other one is also on 64 as well. So you can see this one's a little bit bigger, so I'm actually going to take this and just scale it up a little bit. I'm just going to center this, turn this off, center it, and I'm just going to bring it up a touch and just bring it into position. So they're roughly about the same position. Then you're going to see the difference when I'm working with them both. Okay, now that one I've moved back a bit there as well, but do you know what, that's okay. Right, good. So this is kind of our female. It's just a bit more rounder than this. You can see this is a bit more kind of chiseled, and that's the difference, and we'll be talking more about that. And I really wanted to sort of give you visual clues as opposed to going over the difference between the anatomy of a female and male, which we will talk about, but I want to just get in with the sculpting so you can sort of see the difference between one and the other as we're kind of working. And this is a very simple base mesh, you know, we're starting with something very simple. But what I want to also tell you is about ways we can sort of speed our workflow up. So you don't want to be doing this base mesh every time you do a head, you know, or a body or something. You can actually just use tools. If you can already do this, then there's nothing wrong with actually going and using tools that already exist in like the Lightbox and stuff, and that's what we'll be looking at in the next lesson. We're also going to be looking at how we can create insert meshes from the sculpts that we did earlier. This is going to be a good thing for you as well to sort of speed up your workflow. So, you know, this section is all about speedy workflows for base heads, you know. Base head, when I say base heads, I also mean base bodies as well. You know, I'm just showing you the heads, but it also applies to the bodies as well. So we'll be looking at that over the course of this section. So let's move on now, and I'll start to show you how we can sort of grab other base meshes and how we can actually create insert meshes from sculpts that we've already created in the upcoming lectures.